Well, good morning. So good to see you all. I think Dave and Jason for wearing the red jackets this morning. And, it's a good day for my team last night. We won, so appreciate y'all being in solidarity with that. I know some of you would be wearing Kentucky blue if you could, but anyway. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to our guests. We're so glad you're with us, and I hope that you've had an opportunity to fill out a guest connection card. Leave that here if you can before you leave. We'd like to have a record of your visit, but just thank you for being with us today. My pleasure to be able to be here, and I want you to leave your Bible open to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, that is where we will be over the next few moments. So let me just start off by asking you this question as you think about your life. When or where is the time where you are most likely to fall short by acting completely out of step with who you say you are? So just think about that for a second. When is the most likely time where you may fall short in acting with who you say you are? You have any moments in your life where that may be more prone than others? Just think about it for a second. You know what mine is? Driving. Does that surprise you? For some of you that might have ridden with me? But driving is where I am probably the most prone. And just when I think I'm getting better, something happens. So a couple of summers ago, I was driving up 675. I had a trailer attached. I don't remember where I was going, but I was headed up 675 and coming up on the exit for 35. Okay, so we all kind of know where that is, right? Headed north, going up and you know how I never have lived in a state like this. So for some reason here in Ohio, everybody 2 miles before the exit has to get in the right lane, and then everybody goes 40 to get to the exit. And I'm like, what are you people doing? All right, drives me nuts. But anyway, this day, since I had a trailer, I decided I would get in line 2 or 3 miles back and poke up to where the exit ramp is. And I'm sitting there just kind of minding my own business. And out of nowhere, here comes this little Prius. And they pass me on the shoulder and then squeeze right in front of me. Are you kidding me? Prius? You're going to step in front of me? I don't know how this guy didn't hit me when he got over. And you know what I said at that moment? It's on. It's on. So as the traffic begins to move, I pull right up to this guy on his bumper. I'm going to put my one-ton diesel Silverado truck right on his bumper. I'm going to let him know, his little Prius, that he is in my way. I want this guy to know, you don't do that to me. And so finally, we get going, and you know how the ramp goes off and it kind of curves up and goes around in a U, and it comes back over, you go over the bridge, and finally you merge onto 35. I mean, I was on him all the way around that ramp, and then finally we get up on the highway, and I had an opening, so I swerve over in the left lane, and I just punched it. And I mean, black smoke is just pouring out. I mean, it feels so good. I've got so much power in this. I'm going to let this guy know, you don't do that to me. And I'm going around him, and I just look over and I just glare at him. And then he rolls down his window and he points to the cross hanging from my rearview mirror. Oh, one finger, could have been the middle finger, it wasn't, one finger pointed at the cross, the wooden cross, sitting in my window. I had nothing. So that really ruined the rest of my day. Can you imagine? It really did. Now, here in Ephesians chapter 4, Paul presents of what may sound on the surface a very simple challenge. What he says here in verse 1 is, walk worthy of the calling you have received. Walk worthy of the calling you have received. But I want you to know there is nothing simple about it, because that calling follows you everywhere. It follows you leading up to I-75 onto the on-ramp and out onto the highway. And notice what the passage says again, walk worthy. What is the calling? What is that calling he's talking about? Well, to get the answer to this, you have to go back to chapters 1 through 3. Paul has spent the previous 3 chapters telling these people what God has already done for them. If you go back to chapter 1, he says, you have been chosen from before the foundation of the world. You have been adopted as sons and daughters. You have been redeemed. You have been forgiven. You have been sealed with the Spirit. Chapter 2, you have been raised up. You have been seated with Christ. That is the calling. Not something you've given to yourself because you perform really well. It is something God did for you because of who He is. And here in this chapter, chapter 4, now Paul is saying, because God has done all of this, you need to live like it. So, what does it mean? What does it mean to live like you're called? We're going to talk about that this morning as we talk about the hard work of peace. Now, I want to camp out here on verse 1 because it really sets the foundation for what we're talking about this month with unity in the body. Because this is where it gets down. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is how we get it done. We walk in a manner that's worthy of our calling, and this is how you do it. You walk in a way that brings and moves the body together as one. Now, focus, if you will, on this passage. He says, walk worthy. What does that word worthy mean? It comes from a Greek word that's called axios. Axios. And you know what that word's referring to? A scale. A scale. All right? And I want you for a moment to picture in your mind one of the old-fashioned scales where you have 2 things on either side that balance each other. All right? And on one side, you have everything that God has done for you in Christ. And then on the other side, you have your Monday and your Tuesday and your drive to work. And Paul is asking, he's asking if you're perfect. What he's asking is, does your life match the weight of what is on the other side? That's the question. Does your life match the weight of all that God has done for you? Walk worthy of the calling you've received. And so for people like me, we have to watch out because there are times where the scales aren't even close. I fell in so many ways. And you know, it's in those moments where people out in the world understand that calling much better than I do at that moment. Now, notice this, Paul is not talking about guilt here. He is, what he's doing is he's planting his flag and he's saying, this is my identity. This is who I am. I am not just a person trying to be nicer. I'm not just somebody trying to work on my temper. I am living my life because I've been called. Called out, called to, and called by name. And that calling follows me everywhere. It follows me into my truck. It follows me into my marriage. It follows me into this room. Listen, the cross doesn't belong just in a church building on Sunday morning. It hangs from your mirror. It goes where you go, and we need to walk like it. We mentioned this passage in Bible class a few moments ago. Whatever you do, in word or deed, Do everything in the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him. Listen to that. Whatever you do, give God glory. You're doing it in His name, in word or in deed. Everything. Now, let me ask you, how you doing? I got work to do, don't you? To live up to that calling? Now, what does this actually look like? I think that's important for us to discuss for a few moments. Now, again, we're talking about how this comes into play when life gets hard, not just about the good that happens on Sunday morning. We're talking about the moments when the person sitting across the table from you is difficult. We're talking about the moment when the relationship is strained. We're talking about times when you'd rather just not do this, but you know you need to. And notice verse 2, Paul is going to talk about 4 different things of what this looks like. How do I live worthy of my calling? All right, you see it here, with all humility and gentleness and patience and bearing with one another. You know, when you look at these things, there's 4 things listed here in verse 2. Every single one of these things costs you something. Think about it in this way. Humility costs you your ego. Your ego is all about you. And humility says it's not about me. And here in this moment, we're talking about not just the public moments, but all of the moments, even the quiet moments. Those moments when you know you're right, but humility says, stand down. That happens in every relationship, doesn't? Or it should. When the moment comes when you realize you think your way of doing things is better or best, but in that moment, humility says, consider someone else's way of doing it. We all have those moments. C.S. Lewis once said that humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. I like that. And this is harder than it sounds. But humility is going to cost you something. It's going to cost you your ego. And then Paul says, with gentleness. Gentleness. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is where your first reaction is that one that comes before you think, kind of like I did that day with the truck, blowing some black smoke. And that's so much fun. It really is. And especially in front of a Prius. I just love it. But again, I'm just joking. But gentleness, the first reaction that you have often is not the best one. Gentleness is not weakness, though. I don't think we need to misread this. Listen, in the Greek world, the word gentleness was used to describe a horse, a wild horse that had been tamed. Now, that horse had not changed. It still had the same power, it still had the same strength, but now there was power under control. And so when Paul is talking about gentleness here, he's talking about something that you know you could, but you choose not to. And by the way, that's Jesus in every step of the way. You think about his life and his ministry. But gentleness is going to cost you. And also, here's a big one, patience. Patience is going to cost you your timeline. How many of us are on a timeline? We got a schedule. We got this, that. I start every day with a to-do list. Some days I get more of it done than others, but I have a to-do list. I have an expectation, and if I don't get it done, it's almost like the day's failed. Am I alone? We all do that. We got to get it done. Got to get it done now. We got to be here. We got to be here now. We might even had to be here yesterday, but it's today, and now we're late. We still got to get it done. We got to get going. It's my timeline. Now, patience is not just waiting. Here's the thing, and many of us struggle with this. Patience is called waiting on people. Waiting on people. Think about it this way. People just grow slowly. There may be things in your life that just come naturally to you. Just you pick it, whatever it is. There are things you have innate in you that it's just easy. You can pick it up and get it done. I mean, some people like sewing. I don't imagine how you could, but some people love it and they can just pick it up and do it. For me, I'm going to do a zip tie or some duct tape, okay? That's what I'm going to do. It's not my thing. But there are people out there that can learn these skills and do these skills. Some people spiritually grow very slowly. They make slow progress. There are people who are personality flaws they deal with and try to overcome through life. Listen, I'm not the same person I was 30 years ago. Thankfully, my wife's been patient as I've grown more to be like Christ. People grow slowly. People keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. There are people that you look at them and you think, man, you should be 10 miles ahead of where you are, but you're not. Patience says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not walking away from this relationship, and I'll be here when you get here. I'm going to help you along. That's patience. It costs you your timeline. And finally, bearing with one another cost you your preference. I've talked a lot about bearing with one another over the last few weeks, so I don't want to camp out here very long, but that word bearing with simply means to hold up or to carry. To hold up or to carry. And it's like someone is a little heavier than what you may have expected, and so you adjust, but you keep walking, you keep going. And so bearing with one another means that your preferences, your opinions, your way of doing things, that they don't get to be the standard by which everything else is measured by. We carry each other, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when we're tired. So all four of these things in this text cost us something, but notice verse 3, the admonition here is making every effort. Last week we talked about the second part of this, keeping unity. This week we're looking at the part before it, making every effort. And notice, the emphasis here is not hoping that it works out, not trying only when it's convenient to me. It's every effort. And I want you to think carefully about the imagery that Paul is kind of putting in the background here. Peace doesn't just happen. You have to go out and get it. You have to chase it. It's not the natural state of a room that's filled with people. Think about it in this way. When we're left alone, a group will just kind of tend to drift. And we'll drift into people that are like us. This happens in a lot of congregations. Maybe we've all seen congregations that are dominated by families. One family here, one big family over here, and everybody kind of groups around in their own family unit, or maybe we're not in that family, but we're close to that family, and so we have a lot of shared interests and shared likes, and so before you know it, you've got 3 segments in the same congregation that are there. They're meeting in the same room, they're worshiping God together, doing all these things together, but yet it's like you've got 3 different entities. You ever seen that? And it's in those moments where you got to work together. And in some places, I've seen this where there's actually a rivalry between one family and the other. You seen that? Sometimes it's over money. Sometimes it's over success or whatever the world equates to success, or this or that. Sometimes it's over a spiritual level that's been attained or whatever it is. But if we leave all these things alone, we'll tend to drift into these little subgroups. And a lot of times we do that because we want to avoid the friction, but inevitably it leads to more friction. We try to keep the peace, but it's not the same thing as making peace. You know what keeping the peace is? You know what that is? It's not starting anything. I tell you, I've worked in some congregations where that is the matter of the day. And they're just things that you don't talk about. You don't want to start anything. And you just pretend that all is well. But notice here, it is making every effort. Making peace is different from keeping peace. Making peace means I'm going to cross the room. Making peace means I'm going to be the one that chooses to initiate. I'm going to go first, even if it cost me. And maybe especially when it costs me. And that's the hard work of peace. And notice, Paul teaches the same thing here in Romans. He says, as far as what? There's an underline here. It depends on you. As far as it depends on you, what? Be at peace with everyone. It's not so far as the other person meets you in the middle. It's not once they apologize for some wrong they've done. It's not after they decide to change into something in the way that you think is right. It is so far as it depends on you. Your side is your side, and you own that completely. And the emphasis here is that we move forward with no conditions, no exceptions, no exits, so far as it depends on you. There's no other way, and that's the hard work of peace. And again, let me just pause here real quickly. And again, as I've said, throughout the month of March, we are not preaching this series because there's some inherent issue here at Cornerstone or we're trying to deal with problems. In fact, I think we are together in some very strong and powerful ways. Would you not agree? I mean, just look around and you think about the backgrounds that we all come from, the problems we deal with on a regular basis, and we are coming together as one. It is a beautiful thing, but can we excel still more? Do we need this teaching in case something in the future comes up and we're going to have to fall back on some of the principles we're learning today? Absolutely, because guess what? Satan doesn't like it when God's people are together as one. Now here's something else of why this is so important and why we're spending our time in the month of March talking about this. Why is this worth it? Why do all the hard work? Why pay the cost? Why cross the room when you don't feel like it? Why carry someone when you ought to not have to do that? Why go first when that other person should be coming to you? And the answer is in verses 4 through 6. What I want to do in the final minutes of this sermon is I want to tie in why Paul says what he does in verses 4 through 6 and make it connect to verses 1 through 3. Because I think what I've done in the past is I've looked at verses 1 through 3 as a section and then missed the point of how these connect. The answer here of why this is worth it may not be the answer that you expect. Paul doesn't say work this out because it'll feel better eventually, and he doesn't say because conflict is bad for the local church. What he's going to say here is you do this because of what you already share. Get ready to write. I've got 7 fill in the blanks. Notice, there is one body, there is one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope at your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and one God and Father of all, who is above all and in all and through all. Why did I have you write the word one 7 times? Well, to help you see that Paul is trying to make a point. Listen, in this family, we are not a bunch of strangers trying to find common ground. The teaching here is we already have it. We already own it. The unity that we enjoy is not something we manufacture. It is something that we have been given. And this is what we've been given. One Lord, one faith, one hope, one baptism, one Father. All of that together. You've been given it, and it is your job and my job to protect it. Think about it in this way. Two people who share the same Father are already family. So if you have a sibling and you share the same Father, guess what? You are automatically family. And just like in your physical life in the church, you may not have chosen them, but guess what? They're yours. That's your brother or your sister. All right? I didn't have a brother or sister, so I don't know what that's like personally. I have some men that I love like brothers. But sometimes when you brothers deal with each other, they don't like them very much. All right? One's older and can push the younger one around. The younger one is the baby. Any babies in here? Oh, Becky's the baby. Tony? Really? I don't look at you as the baby, though. I mean, and there's rivalry, right, between that? There was no rivalry between Roger and Russ, was there? No. All right? And I could just go around the room. All right, you don't get to choose your family. Guess what? Same here. But here we are. Here we are. We're together. We have the same Father. We have the same Spirit living inside of us. We have the same hope that's pulling us forward. We kneel before the same Lord. The same faith saved us. We all went under the same water. And that's not nothing. That's everything. And when you understand it, when you really let that fact sink in of what Paul is trying to state here in these verses, then the work and the people in this building begin to look different. It's not a burden to be with them. It's a response out of love. And I want you to think about it in this way. That person across the room that's hard for you to love, that person across the room that's hurt you and betrayed your trust, he or she has the same Father. You share the same Spirit and the same hope. They're already your family. And the calling here is you go first. You cross the room. You do the first work. It's not because it's easy, it's hard, but it's true. Look at Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 14. For he is our peace. Who is that? It's Jesus. Jesus is our peace. He is the one that brings us together. Notice here, when you read verse 14 of Ephesians 2, notice it's not that he taught us about peace. It's not that he shows us how peace works. He himself is our peace. The unity that we enjoy has a name. The common ground that we share has a face, and everything else, one body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one baptism, one God, it all runs back to Jesus. He is the reason the hard work is possible. He is the reason you cross the room. He is the reason you go first, because he's already paid the cost. All of it. And so when peace is hard, and believe me, there's going to be times it will, we don't dig deeper into ourselves and our positions. We go back to Jesus. He himself is our peace. And so, I have thought a lot about that summer 2 years ago. I've thought about it recently. That's why I brought it up in this sermon. Thought about the black smoke and the glaring, but I just can't get that other guy's finger out of my mind that's pointed to the cross in my rearview mirror. And here's what I've come to realize. The guy driving that little tiny Prius, he wasn't just pointing at a piece of wood dangling from my rearview mirror. He was pointing at a calling. He was pointing at a name. He was pointing to the one who is our peace. And in that moment, I had forgotten all about that. Not like forgetting to lose your keys. That's different. I had forgotten and started living like it was untrue. And that's what happens, right? I mean, we all have these kind of moments. I don't think we abandon our faith in some dramatic moment on a Tuesday or Thursday morning. We just stop. We just stop walking worthy of it. We have our cross on the mirror, but we forget what it means. We know what the 7 ones are, but we stop living like they're true. We believe He is our peace, but we do things that we know that are better to do. This happens all the time. We're all prone to this. So here's where I'm going to leave it this morning. The calling is real. The common ground is real. We have the same Father, the same Spirit, the same hope. That's all real. And He Himself is our peace. The only question is, am I living like it? Am I walking like it? Not perfectly. No one's asking for perfection, but walking with the greatest amount of consciousness possible that I have been called to be different, to be holy, to live my life in such a way that I magnify Jesus. And I'll tell you, one of the most powerful ways that this church can magnify Jesus is when the world looks at us and sees us as one. What did Jesus pray the night before His death? By this all will know that you sent me. That's a powerful, powerful witness. So what about you? Are you walking according to the calling? Maybe you haven't responded to the gospel yet. This invitation is for you. Jesus is real. He loves you. He died for you, and He wants to see you with Him, your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And if we can help you find that way, you'll come forward this morning turning away from the way you've been living, the attitudes you've had, the words you've said, the things you've done. So I don't want any more of that life. I want to live for Jesus. God bless you for that. We want to help you get your life started in Him. We'll help you be baptized this morning, wash away your sins. And this family will get behind you and love you and encourage you, because that's what God would have us to do. We don't care about where you've been, what you've been into. We want you to know Jesus. And if you're in this room this morning and you've just not been living worthy of that calling, you had your moments like me, and you need to do something about it, get your life right, this invitation is for you. Think about it. If we can help you, why don't you come forward so we stand and sing.